ladies and those coins. Today we'll talk about the incredible technology that is Bitcorn. Oh no, not the Bitcorn. Yes, the Bitcorn. My name is Luca Nicora, your host. Welcome to, and now, what? In this video, I will not talk about the technical details of the technology, nor why the price may or may not have dropped recently, because it happens like all the time. But we'll talk about how this technology is disruptive, why Bitcoin is considered digital gold, and how it may possibly save our civilization from self-destruction. Wait, what? What? For real? Yeah, things are not looking good. Bitcoin! A lot of things I'm talking about in this video are taken from a series of interviews led by Robert Breedlove and his great podcast, The What Is Money Show. So if you want to know more about Bitcoin, check out his podcast. First, to understand why Bitcoin, why? Let's look at why money. Why indeed? According to MIT engineer and co-founder of MicroStrategy, a publicly traded company, Michael Saylor, that was a long phrase. Humans developing technologies got us from a hunter-gatherer society into this crazy futuristic world in which it's completely normal to be flying thousands of feet up in the air in a giant metallic tube or holding a supercomputer in your back pocket. This is like totally science fiction. When we started gathering sustenance to feed ourselves and our communities, we couldn't really carry that much food until we came up with
the Wheel of Fortune!
The wheel is an incredible piece of technology that allowed us to travel greater distances to exchange with neighboring communities the fruits of our labors, quite literally, as well as increased productivity and growth. In that sense, reduction of friction, in other words, dragging a bag on the floor versus carrying it on a carriage, helped us make things easier. The next technology to reduce friction was the use of water. You mean like staying hydrated? No. I mean by expanding our local markets into global ones by traveling overseas. Huge marketplaces were created in places like Venice and Singapore. We can carry larger amounts of goods on ships than we can on carriages. I'm Popeye the Sailor Moon. After that, the incredible piece of technology humans came up with to reduce friction or to reduce time to avoid goods perishing is, drumroll silver play. Is it money?
Pow, pow, pow!
Excellent answer, Hermione Granger. 500 points to Gryffindor. Money, or more precisely, gold coins, was this incredible technology that allowed us to bottle our labor into a coin. How did they come up with gold coins? Why are we not paying in schnitzels? That'll be 45 schnitzels, please.
Here you go. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
First, because gold is really hard to get, so it makes it valuable, and because it is pretty impossible to counterfeit, unless Nicholas Flamel shares his recipe for the Philosopher's Stone. And because of its limited supply, it's rare, and so it was considered valuable. Unlike food or cattle, gold does not perish, so it has a longer pocket life. Like shelf life, but for your pocket. Once gold was considered valuable by a community, it was turned into a standard, the gold standard. But we had some other type of money that eventually disappeared because they were not as efficient, such as glass beads, seashells, or even tea. Because gold coins were smaller than a cow, for instance, they were easily movable. And when it spread through the world and everyone was doing it because it's totally cool now that everyone is doing it, it eventually became easily accessible. That was the best solution they came up these thousands of years ago. And these are the qualities that makes money. Limited supply, durability, uniformity, divisibility, portability, and acceptability. Okay, but how does a cow turn into a gold coin? Like, you cannot get cheese out of a gold coin. Unless you're Swiss. Okay, so the market is all about an exchange of energy. You put your time and energy into planting a seed, growing a tree, picking its fruit, and eventually selling those apples. You like them apples? When someone mines for gold, the time and energy they spend to dig, literally, or not if you're the other kind of gold digger. In that sense, gold is their fruits of their labor, which they bring to a free market in exchange for someone's Fritos. Oh, wow. Another great technology that helped reducing friction in the transportation of goods is electricity and trains. It's electric, a woogie boogie, a boogie woogie. Faster productivity, longer hours of work with light bulbs, further markets, freezing food to avoid leaking, packaging. All these technologies allowed a slower degradation of goods, which helped productivity and that exchange of energy. The next level, or the new C's we created, is the internet. turning local or national markets into global or international ones. Faster, easier to develop ports, or in this case, websites, reducing middlemen, and allowing you to get that ugly Christmas sweater you ordered on Amazon in 2 days. Thanks, Santa Bezos. Before we talk about the next level of money, let's talk about an important event that happened in the 70s. Disco music? No, not that. In the 1970s, the United States of America, and eventually every country in the world, left the gold standard for what is called fiat currency. Oh yeah, it's like when you pay with cars, like one Ferrari is about 10 fiats. But no, fiat currencies is when countries print money out of thin air. It's not based off any energy put into the system. Free money glitch! So if we can print as much as we want, why don't we solve hunger and poverty? Right? Because money is usually not given to individuals. It's just a bunch of zeros added to banks so that they can loan that money to regular people. You get money, you get money. You don't, because you're not a bank. You know how having credit card debts is not a great thing? Like, the bank can come and seize your house if you're not paying them off. In 2021, the United States national debt was $28,400 billion. That's 125% of the GDP. The GDP is basically a country's salary or how much they're able to produce. That means that you're living way over your means, America. And since the pandemic started, 40% of the US dollar in circulation was printed in the past 12 months alone. But the problem is that we are in a situation in which the only way we can pay off those debts is by printing more money and creating more debts. And when is the National Bank gonna pull the plug? That's what I wonder. But the worst thing is the more they print money, the less rare it becomes, which means that your money that you worked hard for that is sitting in the bank is worth less. The more money we print, the more expensive everything gets, the more hours we need to work to be able to afford our life, the more companies have to produce more and more to keep prices low and make more money, the more investors force companies to cut costs and expand to get more money back on their investments, because the reason they are invested in the first place is to beat inflation. The more the lower income class suffer, higher income too, as a matter of fact, the more the planet suffers. It's a vicious circle all built on fiat currency. And what happens when money loses so much of its value? Let's have a quick look at history. The Romans used silver coins that they slowly chipped to create more money. Bam! The Huns in their face. In the 13th century China, the Yuan dynasty got off the gold standard. Booyah! Got their butts kicked by the peasants. Power to the people! Germany post-World War I didn't have enough money to pay off their debts. Why don't we print some more money, yeah? The Germans ended up using their paper money to light up their fireplaces to stay warm in the winter, because it was literally worth nothing. And in the 1970s, America was like, hey, why don't I just print as much money as I want? No one ever thought about this before. I'm a genius. Based off of history, do you know what happens in these situations where money loses so much of its value? War to pay off the debts by stealing other people's wealth. That's really grown-up thing to do. Now, what do you think would happen if China, the US, and Russia went into a war? With the current warfare technology, it would probably wipe out our civilization. That's great. We are running straight into a wall. Another way to see inflation through the printing of money, or as they call it, quantitative easing, it's to imagine that your car is running with a hole in its tank. How long do you think it will take for your car to run out of gas? Since money is losing its value a little bit more every year, how long will it take for your money to be worth nothing? And that's when we need Mr. Fusion. Now let's talk about Bitcoin, because it may very well be the solution to fix this race to own everything. Fast forward to 2008, where a mysterious person or group called Satoshi Nakamoto created the first cryptocurrency. Actually, it's not the first time a cryptocurrency was created, but I just wanted to sound dramatic. Bitcoin is a cryptocurrency that does not rely on central banks. So it's valuable just because people say it is? That's bullshit. Well, fiat currencies is exactly the same. So, yeah. Now, remember the qualities of money? Bitcoin does the same thing, better than gold and better than fiat currencies. The way it's programmed, only 21 million Bitcoin can be mined. It cannot perish, mold, or be mixed with other metals because it lives online. It's uniform, all Bitcoins are the same, and it is even more divisible than the dollar because a Bitcoin can be divided in tiny units called Satoshis. It is easily portable because, you don't even need a wallet because it's online. For that reason, it is even safer safer than money because no one can steal your credit card or your cash, because if they don't have your access to your accounts, they cannot steal your money. And accessibility, it is already legal tender in some countries like El Salvador, but you can also use it to pay on some websites or even to pay individuals. Sometimes they even prefer to be paid in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is already doing everything that money does better, but it can do even more things, like it can be programmable so that your bills and whatnot is being paid automatically every month so that you have more time to do other things, like taking care of your mental health and creating NFTs, for instance. But the element that may save our economy and the world from World War III is the deflationary aspect of Bitcoin. Because there is a limited supply of Bitcoin that can be mined, each coin can only grow in value until it reaches its peak, and then it will most likely stabilize. Then people won't do crazy stuff to beat inflation, stockholders won't ask CEOs to destroy the planet to get to their predictions, because the main reason why capitalism is so bad as we know it is because we are constantly trying to beat this quantitative easing or inflation created by the printing of money, which means no one wants to keep their money in the bank, they invest it, and it just creates a snowball effect of destroying everything. When you look at history, usually the best technology wins and ends up being adopted. Why walk when you can drive? Why write a letter when you can send an email? Why call when you can send an hour-long voice memo? Guilty! Even though Bitcoin is still a bit complex and intangible for most people, I think it is only a matter of time before more and more countries start adopting it. Especially from these poorer countries like Syria or other countries at war, where people are fleeing, escaping to survive and to save their lives and families, to avoid getting all of their wealth stolen or robbed. Bitcoin becomes a very real option, and not just some kind of bet to double their money. Dogecoins to the moon. And when these richer countries sees that the economy of these poor countries is improved by the adoption of new technology, well, they will want to jump in these new opportunities. Because honestly, everyone loses in a country with fiat currencies, and the rich people don't like that either. And if you look into history, you'll find that there are many instances in which men stepped out of a controlled system. Monarchies into democracies. We separated the church from the state, so stepping away from a centralized national banking system that chooses how much my money is worth will reduce its power, and eventually they'll have to let us use Bitcoin as a legal tender. But why would these richer countries buy into Bitcoin if it's threatening their power? National debts are too high, it's impossible to pay them back. So what's the solution? Either they cut costs, but no politicians would ever want to do that because it's very bad for their image and no one would vote for them. Vote for me and you won't get any financial support. This message is approved by Luca Nicora. Vote for Luca. They could raise taxes, very unpopular too, or grow the GDP, which is pretty hard because we've exported everything into poor countries to keep prices low. Or stop investing 15% in the military. Yeah, right. So we're basically in dipschnits. Getting into Bitcoin is most likely the easiest and fastest way to solve that. And done. Easier said than done, I know, but Bitcoin is very promising. So where can I buy the Bitcoin? Well, check my links below to get some free crypto. You can get up to $250 worth of Bitcoin. Free. Nice. Of course, this technology is not completely without risk, so if you want to know more about how to diversify your portfolio and make money while you sleep so you don't lose all your money to inflation, check out this video. And keep an eye on my channel because in the next video, I will be talking about how much a Bitcoin is really worth. What do you think about Bitcoin? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Invest in your wallet, invest in your future. Love you guys. Peace.